We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are back in the studio. What we have today, we have Taycan CrossTurismo, new 3RS, maybe 3RS spotted?
Yeah.
Targa Heritage to talk about. Leno and Sing a Targa. And then a sale of a 2020 935 race car, the one, the big launch that made 77 of them.
That's cool.
So we'll talk about that. So let's get rolling. Porsche Taycan CrossTurismo.
I was sad. I really thought it was just going to be a Sport Turismo. I was like, oh, cool. They're doing a Sport Turismo first. And then I was like, ah, crap.
Yeah. So you guys that are listening it maybe not know, this is basically a lifted Taycan with some fender flares. If you've seen the Audi Allroad, I hate to compare it to something, but for visually, so you understand what that kind of looks like, this is kind of what this looks like.
I get it.
So it's a little lifted. It's supposed to be kind of like a state vehicle essentially, but it's not a full-on, wagon.
Yeah.
But it is the Taycan, so it's full EV. So it looks like they put some all-terrain tires on it, lifted the suspension some, put some like a little bit of ABS plastic fender flares on it. Gave it more of like a elevated look.
Does it get like V8 range, like 200 miles?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm glad you brought that up, and I do want to discuss that a little bit, as far as its range. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the way this looks, first of all. Well, I'm just going to run through a gamut of stuff of your opinion on this. So what do you think this looks like? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What are your thoughts
I think it's neat that Porsche's considering something like this. I mean, the only other, like you said, the only other maker that I know that's similar would be an Audi Allroad. Mm-hmm. Or Volkswagen All-Track if you wanted to go a step lower in the chain. But yeah, it's different. I don't know. I guess you don't know there's a market until there's a market for it.
And to clarify, the reason why we're talking about this is they've bumped up production on this. We weren't supposed to see this for a while. We're going to start seeing this like very, very soon. That's why we're talking about this.
They had a break, Corona. So.
Exactly. So clearly maybe they did a census and there's a demand for this. Mm-hmm. I think it's neat. And where I think this is neat, and not because it's Porsche and it's off-road or anything like that. What I think this is neat, that it's full EV and it's off-road.
And I think they needed to do that because imagine if they just came out with a Sport Turismo version.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Just too much. Yeah.
What's the difference? It's too much of the same car.
Yeah, I agree.
And that makes it different. It's big enough delineation on the brand, I guess, Taycan brand.
Do you think this thing's going to sell well?
I don't know if anybody's been asking about one. I haven't heard anybody go, you know what? I really like my all-wheel drive, go anywhere car.
Yeah. Do you think this is going to be a concession if you couldn't get a Taycan, like one of the sedans? It's almost like, well, you can get this.
It's going to be it's almost like they've not replaced the Cayenne. Mm-hmm. But it's almost, it's not quite the same thing, but it's similar enough where you might cross shop.
Yeah. Next question. Now I want to ask you, and you already kind of brought it up, so let's talk about it. What's the range going to be on this thing? So
it can't be. Unless
it's turning knobbier tires, it's less aerodynamic.
Unless the battery technology is drastically changed between now, and the time they made it, it's probably going to be around the same as Taycan, I bet.
Yeah. Probably a little bit less.
It can't be because the coefficient of drag.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be a little bit less. It's probably not going to be significantly. We're probably talking like 15%.
Yeah,
maybe at most.
I think it has 200 miles range.
Yeah, 15% at most.
Which is
I think this is going to be a cool city crawler because I think and where I put this in, and bear with me, I segue into the Safari 911s that are being built because they're elevated, they have knobbier tires, they get a little bit more cushion, the ride's a little bit better. Not that the Taycan in any situation, we've driven both of them, that they have any issue whatsoever with comfortability and being able to handle the road.
So I had a thought. I think the range might be longer. And because it's a bigger car.
I want to hear this.
Bigger car, more batteries. And the car looks like it's made for road tripping. or going to the mountains or going to ski.
So you think
skiing.
that might be the secret Easter egg with this car to say,
exactly.
Bam, we're at 350 miles of range.
Yeah, okay. You thought our extended battery is big here. Okay, we have a bigger car, more batteries.
Yeah, actually, I know where you're going with this, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm kind of filling in the blank with your thoughts here. Were you going to go with, since it's not performance base?
No, it's not.
So it's not going to have that drain on the battery where it beats the hell out of it, like the Taycan sedan, like the 4S, or
there may be a different electric tune or whatever they have on it. So.
Yeah, where it's not as, maybe it's detuned in the sense of where it's not as powerful.
Because we know they can do it.
450 horsepower, maybe it has 350.
Yeah, maybe it's that's true. Maybe it's more along the lines of that V8 power because we know they can detune it because obviously there's a 4S turbo.
And then maybe that stretches those batteries out.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't see this being like a big range monster
range.
just because it's coming with like knobbier tires, but it's just interesting. I just wonder.
I can see them.
Are they answering a question again that no one's asking?
Possibly. But again, they don't have anything in their lineup that's full EV. Like there's not a Cayenne, there's not a Macan out, so you can't just go take that.
What I think is unique, and they're going to be first to market with this, is they're going to be first to market with essentially an EV car that can go off road.
Yeah, the first SUV truckish type thing. Yeah, even before Tesla.
Because there isn't anything out right now doing that, and I think they're going to be first to market with that.
Not on a production value, no.
Yeah, maybe that's the theory behind this.
Yeah, that's true.
To say, hey, let's be the first ones to do this.
And even if they follow the exact same Taycan formula, then that means it's proven right now. It's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if the battery technology changes a little bit because they're not so worried about it being in the bottom of the car.
I mean, we know they have the extended battery, so what's to say that you don't have a larger version of that now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, like I said, they bumped this up like a year essentially. It was supposed to, I think, be 2022. I think we're going to start seeing them next year. That's according to Porsche.
So that'll be out, and then the Macan and Cayennes will.
Yeah, we knew that the door was opening. Like once they did that, the dominoes would start falling here. I think it's kind of neat in its own way. It looks kind of aggressive. It looks a little Mad Max-ish.
Yeah.
For as much as a Porsche can look Mad Max-ish, but it's like that. I think it's neat. It's kind of like an urban-y. Maybe it's more of kind of like, because Overlander stuff is so popular right now, like everybody's getting any kind of car that has any kind of off-road capability and putting knobbier tires on it, and maybe putting a suspension lift and then throwing some crazy ladder rack on it, and then they're calling, yeah, man, I go camping occasionally.
Well, I mean, but you have Germany and Italy and all that stuff too. I mean, those guys go skiing stuff all the time.
Yeah,
so that it makes sense for them. Like even if they were just building it for Stuttgart.
I just meant like the crazy event in the U.S. where people are taking everything and anything. Yeah. I'm talking about not even new stuff, like old stuff that wasn't even designed to do like what it's doing, and they're just like, prime example, even within the brand of Porsche, people are taking first gen Cayennes and putting off-road tires on them and putting all this Overlander, putting a snorkel on it, putting all this stuff on it. Am I talking about myself? I don't know. No. But you know what I'm getting at. So maybe they're playing into that with this car, I think.
That'd be cool. I mean,
but again, let's be real. This car's going to be living on the asphalt most of the time.
Plus, like we just said, they're actually getting in front of their SUV series, so it doesn't become overshadowed either. Mm-hmm. So there's a reason for it now. So at least
let's be real too. Like all of their SUVs, even though they're sporty, they're very off-road capable. But they have yet to still come out with an Overlander style like Cayenne.
They
don't have a
package.
Yeah, they don't have another package like that. Even that Trans-Siberian was very mute for what it ended up doing. Like that, the one that raced, like that was the tribute one. But if they sold that one, I think it was too ahead of its time. But now, look at all these off-road companies that sell off-road style wheels and all these packages and all this stuff. I would be shocked if they didn't come out something in their SUV line, and not necessarily has to be a dedicated thing, but could be a package. Like you could do an Overlander package on a Cayenne. I think that would sell very, very well. Yeah. But maybe this is in their mind their answer to that.
Maybe. Or maybe, and it could be their pseudo SUV testing too, because it's probably about the same weight, all that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. No numbers on production of how many they're going to make of these, though.
And that's the other thing too. They don't know how well it's going to sell. The Taycan.
Yeah. We talked, there was rumors of talking, and I don't know if it's still, like, it was rumors, so obviously we don't know anything is going to develop of it, but it leaked to us a few months ago that when we did talk about it on a podcast, they were going to make a 911 Safari from the factory. Mm-hmm. So who knows?
And that's next.
Yeah, who knows what's coming out next with that? You know, we're going to start seeing all of these, you know, Dakar rally style cars maybe coming out and then being used in an urban environment.
So Porsche goes and stops GTLM just to go safaring.
That would be sick, actually. How cool would that be? Be like, we're going back to the Dakar. Like, we're out. We're going after it.
It's like, what? We need some desert.
That would be sick.
Come watch us.
Mm-hmm. I would love that. That would be actually really cool. I mean, it would suck for us because we're never going to, where are you going to go?
Yes, we're going to Africa.
Get ate by a lion while you're sitting out there waiting for, like, the Porsche to come by so you can see it for 2 seconds. Like,
that was fun.
Yeah, great. Now I got malaria. Awesome.
He's not coming back.
But interesting, nevertheless. Porsche continues to stay on the cutting edge and surprise the rest of us. And thank you for them for giving us stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting concept. Whether it's going to have longer range, whether it's going to be how capable it really is.
I didn't even consider this when I was writing it, and I'm glad you brought that up with the range. Like, I almost think now, the more I think about it after you say that, it almost has to have some type of where are you punching? Where are you special?
Yeah.
Are you just a lifted Taycan? Then I don't think that gets it done. But like what you said, if you're like, yo, no, this car has extended range.
It's got more room.
And we've detuned it because it doesn't need to be 500 something horsepower. You don't need to launch this. Even at 350, it's still going to launch hard, but you don't need that. That's not what this is for.
Yep.
And now you have, I don't know, I'm making up a number. Obviously, they didn't quote this, but like they have 400 miles of range now. You know, now it's like, holy crap. But you think if you did that as Porsche, you wouldn't do it with that car because, again, you have rolling resistance, you know, your aerodynamic, your coefficient of drag, everything that goes into this car goes against all of those things to make it get more range. You almost think you would have a hypermile, I'm putting in air quotes, Taycan to prove, and then you detuned it, but put the big time battery in it to say, okay, all of you gas sipper guys, all you gas sipper girls who want something that gets crazy, crazy range, this is your car. This is our Taycan Range Master. Whatever. And it gets 400 miles to a gallon or fill up or whatever you want to classify it as. And because we detuned it, it doesn't rip like the other ones. It does still have power like an EV, but it uses it way more efficiently. And you can literally take this car 400 miles without having to charge it. I think.
Well, I mean, even if it's an all-around car,
I think that would be more beneficial to the populace. To be honest with you,
I doubt we'll see a rock crawler, but I mean, it's going to have all that instant torque. It's going to be able to really do some neat things. I think.
Yeah, maybe this is their Dakar rally car, and they just didn't tell anybody.
Carries everything. It's the parts car. It's the real car. It's everything.
All right, so let's move on. New 3RS spotted. Is it the new 3RS? We don't know, but it's spotted. It's out there on the track. Some people are calling it the Cup car. Some people are calling it the GT3R. And then the 3RS is going to be derivative of this. What I want to talk about more than anything on this car is its huge Gtlm Wing that it's sporting.
It's giant all over. Yeah. It looks pretty wide to begin with.
It does. It basically looks like the RSR car right now.
Yeah.
So,
if not wider than that, and it's got that.
So what do you think this is?
Well, since we're not doing GTLM, it's not that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
it would be that either. I don't think it would be an R either.
I don't think.
Not for and I mean GT3R for race application, not
I think it's a street car.
Yeah. I think it's a 3RS.
Mm-hmm. That wing finally makes sense though. It's wide enough where
we looked at the GT3. It has a swan neck and it's like a baby swan neck. Mm-hmm. This has the RSR race car swan neck on the 3RS.
It's tall.
It looks cool though. But we talked about that on the shorter deck, when it was shorter on the GT3. I think it looks funny. I think the application of this when it's taller and bigger the way it is, maybe because we're so used to seeing it on the RSR.
That's probably what it is.
It looks optically, it makes more sense for us. But if it is the 3RS and we're going to see that, I love that wing. I think it's awesome. I think it looks super cool.
But I think the whole car is gonna make anybody that owns a current GT RS be like, well,
well, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you continue to make
That thing looks
make
impressive.
old 3RSs guys and girls that own those cars want the new 3RS?
Yeah.
This is how you do it. You keep one-upping them.
Because even the dot, even dot 1 to dot 2, 991 right now, that's a big difference in aggression. And even with the Nakadox, just the little things they did.
Exactly.
I mean, Mormon bought one, so
yeah. The sharper ends on the wings. Like, there's all these little things, and they're so good at that because they know Porsche people get into the weeds. And oh man, that's the one with the Nakadox. Okay, now this is going to be the one with the RSR swan neck spoiler. It's like, holy crap, that's sick. Some people may think it's ostentatious, but it's a race application car essentially for the street. I think the more over the top it is, the better, because it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Like, there's no sense. If you want the subdued one, buy the touring.
And really, like looking at that again, that actually could be the GT2 RS.
Maybe.
And nobody's called it.
Maybe.
Because it's got those ducks. It's got everything that makes sense for a GT2 RS.
Yeah, it could be. It's possible. And that's the thing, is like, they can keep us guessing, like, because who the hell knows, right?
Yeah.
I think it looks pretty awesome.
So.
I mean, what are you going to do about it? But it looks badass. Of course it looks badass.
But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a race car just because they're pulled out of the race car season. Why would they still continue to
there's no... I mean,
develop anything, unless it's a GTD car.
There is a way, but I'm willing to bet that it's nothing to do with race application. I think this is a street car for multiple reasons, because when they test their race cars, they don't test them at open places normally.
Nope.
Because there's super stuff that they want secret about it. They don't want spy shots. See, that's the thing about manufacturers. They want spy shots and they don't want spy shots. They want it to leak. They want there to be a buzz about what people think. They want this conversation we're having right now to happen for a consumer grade car. They don't give a shit about that on a race car, because they're going to race. They don't. They want to be super under the radar with that. So when they bring that out, it's already done.
Yeah, they don't always put it on industry pool day for the Nürburgring.
Exactly. Like, they want to show up with the firepower when it's ready to race. And the fact that we've already discussed in prior podcasts, they're out of racing. This is definitely not a race application car. So,
but I can't wait to see it, because it's going to look good.
Oh, it's going to be sick. I can't wait to see it.
That sound.
Yeah. All right, moving on. New Targa Heritage Edition. So we know that
no one saw this coming.
Yeah. So the new Targa's out, obviously. Everybody knows. Thoughts on this? Did they really need to celebrate the milestone with this, or do you think it's a good thing that they're celebrating?
I think they had some like party favors left over from the Speedster. Like, hey, we got to do something. We need to.
I mean, to think about it though, like, if you don't celebrate your heritage, right? Like, what's the point?
How's anybody gonna know?
So there's two ways to look at this, but is it significant enough? Is it just one of those things where? Well,
I mean, like we've said before, like, not everybody knows the complete history of Porsche, so they may not know that there were really a ton of Targas or what that was like. Mm-hmm. And then they're the only brand that's really made that style that I know of, that I could think of, for a sports car continuously.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's cool that I like the fact that they're paying homage to it.
The gold badges are cool.
Is the general populace going to go nuts about it like they have with the Speedster? Probably not.
No, it was already rare. I mean, it takes your Targa being rare and then ups it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there is going to be a select few of people that end up doing it. I mean, I like Targas, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's great that they're celebrating their heritage. You never want to forget where you came from, and that's really good that they're doing that. Here's another thing, too, to think about. If they didn't celebrate it, it's not like they could go back and celebrate it later. So it's either seize the moment or you don't do it at all.
It's true.
Again,
I don't know that it should have been so close to like what the designs were for the Speedster.
Yeah, almost kind of like they just took what that was and just slapped it on that.
Exactly. They could have done the gold badging is a good touch. And things like that. And then I don't know. I think it looks a little too close to the Speedster Heritage Pack for me.
Yeah. But maybe that's a good thing too, because you don't want them to be too different either. You know, maybe because you're celebrating them.
Yeah.
You want them to be similar. You know, to answer the question I said earlier, is anybody, what's the need behind this? An interesting thing, and this is related to this, but it's kind of like a sidebar to it. Recently, a friend of ours pointed out to me on BAT a car, an 89 Targa with 42,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Sold for $101,000. Are you effing kidding me?
Somebody wanted it.
Yeah, it's a G50 car, don't get me wrong. I know they didn't make a lot of them in 89. However, $101,000. Somebody really wanted that car. This isn't, I'll repeat that, 42,000 miles, not 4,200 miles.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, it's a used car. Like,
yeah, but I think it's an anomaly. I don't think that's...
It is. It's an outlier. Don't get me wrong. It's not setting the market. I'm not foolish enough to believe that. I'm just saying there is some desire. I'm trying to tie this into the newer one.
So
there is a group of people that are Targa people within Porsche that like Targas, clearly.
Likes his, so.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, honestly, like, I know there's people out there that think that there's something wrong with them, but there's nothing wrong with them.
And as soon as we talked about it too, like, oh, nobody put theirs on track, and then we go to Sebring, and then like there's 3 of them.
Yeah, yeah. So. I think what was that, a year ago when we were like messing around? We're like, who's gonna put this thing on track? Who cares about that? And it's like we get there and there's 3 new Targas there, like racing around track, and I'm like, what?
Well, I guess there's somebody.
I was like, I stand corrected. People are racing Targas. But I mean, they are everywhat capable. You and I have driven them. I like them. I think they're neat, and they are a secret spot within the newer cars just because I think there is a stereotype behind them for the majority of the Porsche population that end up buying these things or not buying them, I should say.
I mean,
more.
It's a good way to
stay away from them. So they're a low production number without indirectly, like Porsche will make as many as you want. They don't limit the numbers. They just don't. People just don't buy a bunch of them.
But I mean, it's the best way to be indecisive.
I agree.
Because you get similar convertibles and similar coupe feels. So
and also to add to that, because of the lack of consumer response to buying a bunch of them, you're also unique.
Yeah, I can't think of the only time I've really seen one in person here. Maybe the one we drove. I really don't know that I've seen.
I see them very, very rarely. And
I don't think I've seen one like where we go normally, like shows and things back when they had those.
Yeah. But I think in general, I think they are pricey. Don't get me wrong, talking about the new ones. But to be fair, I think we talked about this on a prior episode when they launched the all new Targa. You can get one in a manual.
Yep.
You can spec it right. I don't think there's a whole lot of, I mean, think about this. There's probably not a lot of competition when you want to go get one. If you're one of the ones that are listening and you have the means and you're over and you want to be unique and you're over the GT car scene or whatever it is, maybe you go to get a PTS Targa
and you manual or something.
Yeah, and you get it or a Riviera Blue or whatever you end up doing, and then
Python green.
Yeah, whatever, and then you get a manual one and you really make it unique. And the interesting thing about it too, it shows you that there are few of them out there too, because even resale on them are expensive. Yeah. So they don't have some huge price dip because there's a lack of support behind them. So they still hold their own. So if you were to buy one and you didn't like it, it would still hold its value. Maybe not like a GT car, but it's not going to drop off. You're looking at maybe like anything, like maybe 10%, difference, in depreciation. But I think they're unique cars. If I could afford one, I would actually, I thought about this after we drove that one a few years ago. After we drove it, I really, and I say this often, and I hold a hand up, I do say like, hey, I would love to daily this, I would love to daily that. But honestly, like as far as a 911 goes, like actual daily duty, at least, and I'm going off the geographical environment we live in, because sometimes it's nice here and sometimes it's just god awful, muggy and nasty and whatever.
A hurricane,
yeah. That would be a really, really great car to daily drive. I would really enjoy daily driving a Targa like 4S or something like that. I think it would be sick, because on the nice days you could put the top down and you could still get that airy feel. And then on the crap days you're just running the AC and you're hanging out in it. And I mean, not that you can't do that in a cabrio, but it's still, I think it looks cooler than a cabrio. So
100%.
interesting enough. So those are those topics before we headed to break. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with some Jay Leno talk and the 935 race car that sold. That's an interesting topic. I'm excited about that one.
Make sure that you check out Soul Performance Products because they are a sponsor of PCAR Talk. They have a great exhaust. We were running it on the Turbo S. It's handmade. It's made in the U.S., made by Americans, sold to everybody else in the world. So very few products are still made in the U.S., and they make exhaust products for every vehicle that you can think of, not just Porsche. So please check them out. They're a great sponsor of the show. We love their products. A lot of other people that we respect as well is running their products on their car, and they're battle tested. They're race proven. If you're looking for a solid quality American product, definitely check out Soul Performance Exhaust. Now back to the show.
All right, we're back from break. And let's talk a little bit about, pretty popular guy. I'm sure you guys all know who he is, Jay Leno.
Nope, I heard of him.
But he recently drove the Singer Targa that was made, and there's a video out on it.
Saw the thumbnail, didn't see the video.
Yeah, he's all raves about it, how great it is. Of course, how could he not? It's a Singer. The interesting thing I think about this is there's a couple topics that spin off of this whole thing of him driving it that I want to discuss. First one is, why don't you think he owns a Singer? Because this isn't the first one he's driven. He's driven a couple of them when they were new, when they were promoting them, and he helps do that. Obviously, with his show, it's a great way for him to drive cars. He loves the craftsmanship.
Yeah.
And which I find interesting that he doesn't own one is because he likes actually modified or quirky stuff and that are different stuff.
Yeah, but I was thinking about his collection. I don't think he owns anything that's not like factory produced.
Yeah, he does. He owns some of his like pre-war cars. He has they've had to macrame them and customize them and do all this stuff. So those aren't the way they came from the factory. And so he owns stuff that isn't factory like stuff, like made. And where I was going with that is that he really enjoys craftsmanship. And he likes that kind of stuff, that attention to detail. Let's put it that way. He loves all that.
Or maybe he has one and doesn't talk about it.
No, you definitely would have. He would have talked about it while he was driving this. He would have said, my Singer.
He does.
He does that all the time. He's like, just like my da 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 da, just like my Bugatti, just like this. Yeah. And he likes to compare and contrast.
Maybe he likes what he has in the Porsche realm, and it's.
I think it just boils down to, and I don't know if there's any truth behind this, but I've just heard people talk, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I find him, and what I've told, not me personally, but I've been told by other people because I've never met him or had a conversation with him. So take this for a grain of salt. And I don't mean this. This is just what I've been told. I've been told he's not really a big Porsche fan anyways.
Well, maybe.
He does own some Porsches, but I think he's just not that into them, and maybe that's why he doesn't own a Singer. That could be it. I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to that. He may have one being built that we don't even know about. If he did, though, I think he still would have said that. Even because I did watch this video, and he never mentioned any of that. He just mentioned how much he liked it. He mentioned how much the craftsmanship was behind it and all that kind of stuff.
Because he's definitely had several builders on there outside of Porsche. That do that similar style thing, or make it more hardcore race car.
And the thing about it is all of those cars and all the ways that they're built and all that kind of stuff, I would think of at the level of a collector that he is, and the things that he does like to enjoy his cars, that blend craftsmanship and then high level of attention to detail with performance. Singer hits all of those marks. And that's why I ask you that question, because it confuses me.
Maybe he wants something.
Looking at him like exterior wise, because he owns so many cars, I wonder why he doesn't own a Singer.
Maybe he likes the unreliability of everything else.
Maybe.
It didn't start. But it should have started. Or I don't know.
Because it's clearly not a money thing. He's got oodles of it.
He talks highly about his Lamborghinis and highly about his McLarens. That's the two that he normally goes to if he's going to talk about stuff.
And I'm going to say this, and obviously being a Porsche fan, it may be this too. I wonder if it's just a 911 is too common of a car for him, regardless of what's done to it. Like maybe he looks at that car as too much of a commoner car.
Maybe.
But he does have quirky, weird stuff too, though. Like that's pretty common. He has weird, like little, but maybe he's just not passionate about it. It just doesn't strike him the way other stuff strikes him.
Like, it's good, but eh.
Yeah. He's like, they all look the same.
Yeah.
It could be that.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, I always thought that was interesting, even like from Jay a long time ago, before we even had this podcast, before, I was into Porsche, even like when he would even pre-Singer, I want to say actually pre-Singer, and all of these developments of like the 901 shop, all these places that make all these like cars, I think prior to all these shops that are maybe kind of got on the map and started doing their thing, he probably hardly ever did a video on Porsche stuff. So it could be a personal thing.
Yeah. The only thing I really remember is whenever he did stuff with Magnus, and that was probably the first.
Yeah. And it could just not maybe be brand select. Like, if you notice, he just doesn't have a lot of German cars.
Yeah.
In general. Maybe it's a German thing.
Yeah. Does he have any BMWs? I mean, besides, I'm sure he's got motorcycles.
I think he's got an M1.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Either way, I thought it was interesting. It was great to hear his take on Singer. Like, we all know they're great. We all know the craftsmanship of it. They don't have too many Targa Singers out there. I thought that was cool to see too.
Yeah. Just like the actual Targa. Too many.
Yeah, exactly. So that it also shows you the diversity of Singer, like we talked about before, where they made a C4.
So was there anything different on this? 'Cause I didn't get a chance to see the video yet. Was there anything different about this one from other coupes that we've seen, or have they evolved anything? Or
no, it still has the same basic. I say basic, but they're basic.
Yeah, same $500,000 cost.
Yeah, their same basic layout of how it's supposed to be and how they like to do their cars. That's how it is.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a Targa here and there before, but I guess the further we get into it, like they're willing to do, it just shows you that they're willing to do whatever the customer wants, in the sense of, originally I thought maybe they only did coupes.
Yeah.
They only did, and then the invention of the C4 for them doing not too long ago.
Pretty cool.
And they do a Targa. And this isn't, like I said, this isn't the first Targa they have. We've seen older Targas that they've done. Just a lot of people just don't elect to do a Targa. But it was a good looking car. I thought one of the interesting things too in this video that one of the lead design guys was talking about, he actually led on to the C4. The person who bought the C4 overseas drove it in the French Alps in the snow.
Oh.
So you and I talked about, like, I wonder who bought it, and if they're using it because it's a 4, if they just wanted to be different.
Yeah.
So he confirmed in that video that the person who did buy that C4 that they built out is using it in the all-wheel drive fashion that it's designed for.
So it made sense for him to,
Yeah, because I guess he lives in the mountains, so it makes sense for him to have that. I got a little bit of information from that indirectly as well. So let's segue. Let's move into the bigger topic on the second half of the show, 2020 Porsche 935 race car.
Yep.
This is the one that looks like the old school, where the body over the body type of car, like the old school Kramer style cars, where the box is in there. And they made 77 of these, and you obviously had to be a super select individual to have an opportunity.
You had to have your certain cars.
Yeah, you had your check marks on the cars that you did buy, and then I think you had to have a check mark on, obviously, like panache and what type of style, and bank account probably played a factor in this too, as far as like who you were in the world, as far as that went.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about 77 worldwide. Any brand can find, I guess, within its own brand, 77 old uber rich folks that probably find those cars. I bet probably 70 of these 77, at least 50% of them are B with a billionaire behind it.
Yeah. Get the B's going on.
Yeah. But anyways,
do you think they sold all 77 right, like within?
Oh, they were gone immediately.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So like behind this process, like all of these like super low number cars. I know you know this, but for people that are listening, these are actually sold under like Porsche AG. These aren't sold like at your dealership where you put an allocation in for a GT3 RS or like a GT2 RS, like where they make certain allocations and that dealership's only getting one of these. This is actually comes from Porsche corporate, and they reach out to the folks that are basically they have like an internal list essentially of folks they already know.
Yeah.
And basically that person says, hey, we're
Here's the list.
You've been
Here's the
approved.
going
It's
to.
not like,
Yeah.
hey, we want you to buy this. It's almost the wording behind it is you have been approved, whether you've asked for it or not.
Yeah.
You've been approved to buy one of the 77 cars.
Buy your pass.
And this is a person, yeah, this is your concierge that you've been assigned. Then you'll be dealing with him or her directly behind this. And this is how it works. I'm giving you backstory on this whole thing because there's a lot of people that maybe not even seen this car ever. We saw this revealed at Rennsport Reunion and got to see it run around the track, which was really, really cool. It pays a lot of homage back to the old race cars.
Man, if you want a new Moby Dick car, this is pretty much.
Yeah, this is the
way to get it,
closest. Yeah, this is the closest you can get to
You don't
that
feel
old
like
school.
you feel like the Kramer's a little too much.
Yeah.
As far as old technology.
So the story behind this lucky gentleman lives in Monaco.
Oh no way! Not Monaco, you say?
Yeah. So he was one of the lucky 77 to get his allocation. Took delivery of it a year ago. Never even put a single mile on it.
It's 0, huh?
0 miles. No miles. Not even a delivery. Anything. Like I guess they just pushed this thing around or toted it
Hovered
around.
it, I guess.
Yeah. Put it on dollies. Pushed it around. Whatever they had to do. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have a single mile on it. Openly admitted, hey, I only bought it because I wanted to flip it for profit.
Okay.
So he owns it for a year, sells it at auction, sold it at RM. So he sold it for 1.32 million pounds,
That's a good
which
amount.
translates to at this dollar rate, 1.6 million, and some change. The car retailed, he paid MSRP because it's Porsche AG. They're not marking it up.
750 or something like that.
829.
Oh, 820. Okay.
So he doubled his money.
Oh yeah.
In 12 months. So he made essentially $800,000, $30,000 essentially in 12 months time with just buying it, doing nothing with it, parking it and selling it.
I mean, 100% ROI is
Now,
not bad.
where I'm like, what I'm ready to challenge you with is I'll start because I have a slew of questions. Is it a shitty move or a good move?
He might not have been a Porsche fan. Well, I mean, he had to be somewhat because
Yeah, he was on the list.
Well, that doesn't mean he's a fan. I mean, he owns the cars.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't see himself driving on track.
Yeah.
That could be something.
But that statement I'm circling back to, he openly said, I only bought it to flip it. He was quoted saying that.
Yeah.
So is this a shame on Porsche for selling it to him?
I mean, they're not going to know that though. They're not going to know that.
That's true.
I mean, beforehand, he won't get another one.
Yeah.
He's made that clear. If I was Porsche,
Yeah. So essentially,
not getting the call.
he
made his money once
for $800 and something $1,000, he got himself out of the club.
I think so. I think he's on the off
Which
list.
the guy was probably already rich anyways. So.
Yep.
Which also, you made a good point. Probably not a big Porsche fan anyways. He maybe just has so much money. He buys every car on the list just so he can get the special cars.
Yep. Just say, hey, I got one of these 0 miles.
Yeah.
Cool.
And honestly, probably because this was a track only car, maybe he was, not a track focused person. Maybe didn't have time in his life for it, whatever. Maybe if there's a street car, maybe he would have hung on to it. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, there's all kind of things floating around Monaco. So
Do you think this circles back to like an egg on the face type of thing with Porsche where there is a problem? Like, and this goes deeper, like where we talked about with the brokers buying up all the GT cars and then selling them for huge profits on the backside when that was happening. Do you think this is a little bit of that as well? Because that happened with their 918 program too. People were buying them and then making $400,000 or $500,000 because people
even on the turbo, the special 918 edition cars, yeah.
Because remember when the 918 came out, I don't know if you guys remember this, but they actually had a hard time selling those cars. They didn't get all the allocations. Like all of the 919 that they made, 918 or 918, sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever they made, there was people getting 2 or 3 allocations on them because they couldn't get people to take them. They're like, yeah, I'm not interested. You're making too many of them.
And I think they learned from that too. They haven't really made a big run like that for something. I mean, except for the GT cars, obviously they're doing.
Yeah, that was a bit like in the sense of obviously us understanding like things in collectability and things in nature and whatever, how normal stuff is.
Yeah.
918 of these things are not a lot.
I feel like anything if you're under 100 worldwide, I feel like that's a good number.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say is like that's still under 1,000 isn't a lot of cars. However, when you go under, like you said, well, I'm going to make 100 of these or less, you get uber exclusive because now you have the high millions and the Bs, the billionaires chasing after these cars, because there are a lot more guys with that kind of money that like to collect these cars. They're out, then there will be the car. So now it becomes desirable.
Yep. Surprised our Miami friend doesn't have one.
Yeah, I know. Maybe he just doesn't want to get caught up in chasing them. I don't know. Like, maybe he doesn't want to pay this $800,000 premium on one because maybe he wasn't part of the select 77.
I'm surprised Miami. Yeah. Well, maybe not. Yeah.
Well, we know a lot of people who weren't part of that 77 that we thought might be part of that 77.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you think that's fair though? Like for him to say, okay, hey, I'm going to sell this car, and now he made $800,000. Is it more of kind of just like a venture capitalist move to say, hey, it's his money, he gets to do whatever the hell he wants to do?
Yeah.
Or is it more kind of like you're tainting what's happening here?
Like I said, like it's only going to happen once for him that way. I mean, I don't think if Porsche is really concerned about controlling it.
Well, of course, he won't be a repeat offender, but this still does it. But
you can't. It's still.
But what about all the other people that still are future-wise maybe make this move?
Porsche still made money by selling something. It's still considered. I mean, it's still an investment, and whether or not, I guess. I know he didn't drive it, so he didn't enjoy it, but that doesn't mean. I mean, that's not our. Yeah. That's that person's call. How they're gonna.
Yeah, I just wanted to know your opinion on it. I mean,
I don't think it really taints it.
I think my personal opinion behind it is it's fair game. If you've got the money and you're the guy who's able to spend $829,000 brand new for it, you could do whatever the hell you want with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It would be a travesty if you went out there and, like, if you wanted to do this, I know nobody would do it because unless they're just total degenerate, but just destroy the car on purpose because you can.
Yeah.
Or sell it the way he did and make double his money.
Or opposite, if he just puts a plate on it, gets it registered somehow, and just drives it in the street.
Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty impressive, though, in a 12-month span where MSRP'd and it doubled in a year.
100% ROI is not a joke.
That's ridiculous. I think that's more impressive than anything, actually. And I think it shows you how strong the other however many people didn't get their 77 like they thought they were going to be one of the 77s. It just shows you that how badly they want the car, even though they didn't get an opportunity to get one.
That's true. And it's now set the market for all 76.
Mm-hmm.
So now you all have a $2 million car.
And then on the flip side of this too, because this is a full race car, I don't think these things ever really get. I mean, obviously you're going to know who the owner was, but like not a traditional title where names get like hard marked into be like, oh, I'm the 7th owner. I'm this. Like things can fall. Like technically, this guy who's getting it or gal who's buying it could essentially call themselves the first owner, really, because this other person was just holding it. They never drove it.
Yeah, because
they didn't even put the first mile on it. Well, I'm saying you can't even register this because it's a race car.
That's what I'm saying.
But what they can say is, oh, I'm the first one to put a mile on it.
It's like not registering the car, that type of thing. Yeah.
Or this is a spin-off topic of that, because no one has driven it and the person who's bought it, now are you scared to drive it because now you've paid $1.6 million for it, and now do you still keep it zero, and do you just keep it in the room?
So $2 million down from here.
Yeah, so when it's time to sell, you make money on it too? It's kind of it's I know inside Porsche they know this stuff happens, but I know deep down inside it saddens them that this kind of stuff happens with these cars. And not even within Porsche, I'm sure even with Lamborghini and Ferrari and all those other ones, when they make 30 of something or 50 of something, and it's mainly like a race application type of setup, and it never goes to where it was supposed to do what it was supposed to do. I think as an engineer, I think the people that work for those companies, I think a little bit of them dies when that happens.
So I had a question that popped in my head, and I know it's full race car, but is it full enough race car where it's on race hours, like that motor on hours?
Okay. Yeah, it is. It has hours on it because I've seen like a full in-depth review on them. Yep.
So
you're absolutely right.
So it's going back to old Eric to get rebuilt and certified if it ever came to that.
Exactly. I have mixed emotions on this. I mean, at the end of the day, like, who cares, right? Like, another rich guy sells a car, makes a lot of money. maybe that's what it boils down to. But there's so few of them.
I'm curious to see what. Well, I mean, if you could find out what people had to have in their collections to get these cars, to see that list.
It would be interesting to talk to somebody within Porsche to kind of see. I'm sure everything, and since there's so few of them, and there's only 77.
Do you have to have race cars? Do those race cars have to have race pedigree? Do they have to? I mean, how many wins do they need?
Well, I think there's probably. Honestly, I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer to that. I think there's a case by case basis of what you have. I think there's also people that maybe don't even have a lot of Porsches that got like invited to buy one of these. You know,
want your first Porsche?
Exactly. I just thought it was an interesting topic to talk about. You know, I know some people probably didn't care. This is another race, you know, rich guy selling a car and making $800,000. It was rare enough because this is a very special car, just because there's so few of them. Most of us, especially now that the panache of the newness of, and they're all where they're living at essentially, like with their collectors or whoever's keeping hold of them. Most people will never ever see one in person. We were fortunate enough to see him in person. Like I'm fortunate enough to see it, and we saw it in action, driving on track. And then we were able to, at least I was able to see some in action also at Goodwood. I don't know if I ever get that opportunity again, other than
other than YouTube.
Yeah. Other than video, like seeing one in person, like it's just so rare. It's like seeing a damn unicorn essentially. Like, because think about all those people that aren't using this the way they're supposed to use it. Like this particular guy,
for example, this guy,
this one, and this, whoever bought this it'll probably end up in a locked up collection that you'll never see again.
So do you think that he has now, kind of at least played into the minds of everybody that owns one, not to drive theirs, to keep it at a $2 million value or valuation or close to that?
Yeah, I think the people of those 77, I think people have already made their mind up what they're doing with it. I think there's been people putting them on track. There's people been driving them. Like GMG has one, they drive theirs. I think it really just depends, to be honest with you. I don't think he's really influencing anybody other than price. Because I think whoever has theirs already, this decision is already made for them without even hearing this story. Meaning, like, I'm going to drive mine or I'm not going to drive mine. There's not like, I'm going to drive it a little bit. Yep. Like, you either, once you make that decision, you're driving it. It doesn't matter anymore. Or you're just not driving it. It's an on-off switch. I don't think there's any gray. You're like, well, mine only has 10 hours on it. It's like, well, all right, you drove it. It doesn't matter. You might as well put 100 hours on it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's all I have. Do you have anything before we close shop?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Don't forget to share this, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We also have a YouTube channel. Don't forget about that. All doing car reviews for you guys as well still. We appreciate everybody out there who's standing behind us and standing us up. We love you guys. See you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCAR Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCAR Talk or online at pcartalk.com.